Good morning and welcome back to Insights from the Couch. We are here with Anamaria Ryan, Dr. Anamaria, who is joining us once again for another episode, and myself, Yalily Smith, owner of The Traveling Therapist. We're going to be talking today about a controversial topic, I think, because it's so popular in just everyday life. People really gravitate towards this, and it's the self-help topic. Is self-help gurus writing books, self-help YouTubers, podcasters, especially the books, because the books, once they're written, you really don't get to update them too often, and if a person grabs them and you've changed your perspective, you can't really take that back. So we're going to be talking about our perspective as clinicians of what self-help is like. Ana Maria is writing her own self-help book. So, and that's her first book, I think, right? So that's a really interesting experience that we get to see firsthand. And then maybe give some tips on what are some self-help things. Like I personally have thought of a couple of tips that I can recommend that I've learned through listening to multiple self-help books. In the last year, I've listened to like five or six of them, four of them back to back for this particular podcast. So I'll give you guys some tips of what I've learned, that what to do and not to do from listening to the so-called experts in the field. So, hi, Ana Maria. Good morning. That was a very long.
Good morning. Yes. No. It's okay. And by the way, thank you so much for amending the intro with the doctor, but you can call me Ana Maria. We've been friends for a long time, so that's okay. You don't have to, although it was tears of sweat and blood that it
Oh,
caused me to become a doctor, but you don't have to. Like, nobody, I'm Ana Maria for anybody and everybody, but thank you so much. It's good to see you again, my friend, after this time.
I know. I think what is Happy New Year? No, we did something in the new year in
We
January.
did.
All
Hmm.
right, good.
We sure did.
So, okay, let's talk about self-help. I went down this rabbit hole of of self-help, and it really kind of opened my eyes to how much I think people may be affected by relying on self-help books for their mental health and for their positive habits. The first one that I listened to was the 5 a.m. Club, and it is this magical sort of book where the self-help happens in this perfect island paradise with a billionaire who whisks away these business owners who have the ability to take like a whole month off and enjoy having
Paradise.
a paradise. Enjoy paradise. A lot of the settings are like around the world where they jet set to these different places to learn their lessons, and in the meantime, the the so-called guru that's like teaching them the lessons is expanding on the importance of waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And that was the first fallacy. You're lucky that you're not on video. You guys would have laughed. That was not an appropriate gesture.
I am very inappropriate, as you
You're
already know.
not a morning person. I can definitely say that.
No,
The fact that I get to drag you out here at 8 o'clock in the morning, it shows how much you love me.
true that.
So this guru is talking about like you waking up at 5 o'clock, and like that you it's a the 5 a.m. club is supposedly you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. But the first problem that I ran into is that they talk about 5 o'clock in the morning constantly in the book, and yet everything happens at 5. So I'm like, you're not waking up at 5 in the morning if you're already dressed, ready to go, and you have already had your breakfast and you are actually already like working out at 5 in the morning. So this is more like the 4:30 a.m. club or the 4 a.m. club.
The 3 a.m.
Something
But
like my hyper rational brain, my INFJ brain cannot compute that you call it the 5 a.m. club, but you expect people to be already ready to go by 5 a.m. Like, be more specific. This is self help. So that was the first thing that frustrated me. And then the second thing is where they talk about you're supposed to do this 7 days a week. 7 days a week, you're supposed to be ready, up and going at 5 a.m. And then you're supposed to get your sweat in, like some sort of an activity that makes you sweat for the first 20 minutes of the day. But then you're also supposed to do an activity for an hour for the last hour of the day that makes you exercise. So those, I'm thinking like, wow, what the heck? And then on top of that, you're expected to do two 90-minute massages a week. So I'm listening to this thing and I'm like, who the heck is listening to this book?
Elon Musk. I
I
don't know.
know. I'm just like, not even Elon. Elon doesn't have time for two 90-minute massages a week. He barely has time to go jogging. I'm just like, who has that kind of time, money, and and like, so I'm listening to it, and it actually it started to concern me a little bit.
So if I may say, I
Sure.
feel like we are swimming in an ocean of information without a lot of discernment or wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And we are consuming everything that is coming our way. So self-help is just another part of the plethora of ideas that are out there. So we have visual aids, audiovisual, all kinds of things like that are popping up all the time. But the books are there for there to I'm sorry, they're for us to read, and they're there for themselves to stay. So you can grab the book off the shelf and read it anytime you want, right?
Right.
And what I'm thinking is, but I don't know, I could be wrong. You can correct me if you think I'm saying something that is off topic or offline. But like, I feel like we have to look into who is writing this information first and foremost.
That's
What are some of those credentials that we find that are reputable? And maybe this is where academia is jumping through my skin right now, because not just anyone, I mean, I guess anyone could write a book, right? But
Mhm,
that
that's
doesn't
true.
mean that you have the knowledge or the experience to
Mhm.
write that book.
Yeah.
I don't know who wrote the 5 a.m. club, whatever it is. But I mean, clearly that person is not in touch with reality for 90% of the population. Um, and I'm just being gross with that percentage. So I think we have to like really be
Mm.
smart in terms of who is this person that is presenting that material to
Right.
me, right?
Yeah.
Yesterday I was talking to one of my lovely clients. I love her. And she brought up this Let Them friends thing that is happening. It's a book. It's called Let Them,
Oh,
and
okay.
everybody is reading that book and everybody's talking about the book. And one of the things that I asked my client was like, well, but yeah, but how many people are really applying actually
Yeah.
what they're reading?
Yeah.
So this is where I have a little bit of an issue with the self-help books, is because I don't know the credentials or where this person got this information from out of their own head. Okay, that's great. B, how is the application of this book going to be helpful to me? Like
Mhm.
how can I apply that into my life? And
Yeah.
what I found, Yalily, is that most people intellectually can actually understand things,
Mhm.
and they go like, oh yeah, 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 that makes
Mhm.
sense. But the factual application of that information has to happen in your journey, in your life. It's kind of like applying what you learn in school in theory.
Yeah.
As a therapist, for example, we learn a number of theories that we can apply
Mhm.
with clients. It's only until you sit down with a real person to do a therapy session that you start learning the application of that theory. And
Yeah.
sometimes, what do you do when you don't have anything that is applicable? How do I resolve this? So I think each person has to walk through their own journey.
Mhm.
Therefore, the self-help books are limited. It's good to read them. You know, if you get something out of them, that's great. But is that going to resolve every problem of your life? Or if you get into the train of Let Them, is that going to be what is going to change my life?
Yeah. And I agree with you 100%. Obviously, I would say the first tip of this podcast is look at what you're reading, look at it as something that does it apply to your own personal experience and to your own personal life, because the 5 a.m. club is on the reading list of everyone who's in the top
Excuse me.
1%, who wants to be in the top 1%, who like it's everybody suggests it. I've heard about this book a million times. He has over 10,000 reviews. I mean, it's an impressive background as far as the audience. But when I read it and I think about my patients and I think about my own life and I think about just everyday life, I'm a single mom. It, yes, I'm in a relationship, but I am a single mom. I take care of my child independently. And so I'm the one that gets up. I'm the one that takes her to school. I'm the one that makes sure that she's fed and taken care of and all these different things. And I was putting myself in the shoes of other single parents and other individuals out there in the community. And I'm like, this is so beyond unrealistic in so many different levels that what worries me is you pick up that book with all the hopes and dreams of this is going to change my life because everybody's told me that it's going to change my life. And you read it and you try to force yourself to apply it to your life. And it is so off the mark that you end up becoming discouraged in your journey. And you end up feeling like you're the failure instead of the book being the failure to meet your
Um,
needs.
so I'm sorry, but I think you're touching on something very important, which is again who wrote this book. So I don't know who the author for that book is, but you were explaining that it's some sort of a millionaire, or they were describing some sort of a
Yeah, it's
millionaire.
like this the perfect kind of like island paradise. I'll tell you the author right now. I have it. It is Robin Sharma.
Is that a gentleman?
Yeah,
Okay. So that what I was gonna say is that that person is writing the book, the self-help book, based on his perception of the world, which is not
right,
all inclusive.
right.
So what does that look like for a single mom? What does that look like for
A
a
single
person that
dad, or for a family that has 4 kids in the house. What the heck are you doing at 5 o'clock in the morning getting sweaty when you have 4 kids that you don't want to wake up? What are you doing? Like yoga very quietly. Like,
you know
it's definitely not moving around too much.
this reminds me of I think this has been the history of humanity since humanity's humanity, which is a bunch of people are followers to a lead,
Right.
and the lead is given the information to the sheeple, and the sheeple just follows, right?
Right.
So I think people like, and you might have to blur this because we may get in trouble, I don't know, people like Tony Robbins, right? Like he has built an empire since the late 80s with
That's
this self-help stuff. I think he charges like 4K for attending one of his workshops on a weekend. If you multiply that times, I don't know how many people go, because there's stadiums actually full of people going to listen to him and his message. I just don't know what to tell you. I mean, is it helpful? Sure. But then it becomes kind of like a cultish type
yeah,
of a thing. And that's what I was saying about the books that become trends. So we have those books that are recommended, like the highest, that people are reading those books the most. You have to read it, because if you don't read it, then
yeah,
you're not a popular kid.
right.
And so I think that we again have to utilize critical thinking. I do get a lot of my clients that ask me for self-help. Now, I am not all against self-help books. There are some books that throughout my career I have read
And
in training,
I found 3 that are actually very good, and I would recommend.
but those books I definitely have read more than once.
Mm,
Secondly, they are written by people who have the credentials to, in my opinion, to write those books, and that can be trusted. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry for saying this, but if I hear Tony Robbins talking about how easy things come to someone, I mean, we're talking about a man that, I'm sorry, he's Caucasian. When he started his career, he was in his late 30s. I don't know what he was doing before. But anyway, that's a different world than the world of a Hispanic 40-year-old woman, or a black 20-year-old woman. Or I think is very exclusive sometimes when we read self-help,
yeah,
or it puts us in a situation where this is what you have to do
yeah,
if you want to be successful. And like what you were saying, well, wait a minute, if I can't do that, then what does that mean? I'm a loser?
yeah.
I,
So I happen to really like Tony Robbins, and I was actually listening to a podcast just like 2 days ago between um Jordan Peterson and Tony Robbins, and I thought
I don't dislike him. I'm sorry. By the record, I think he's super hot, and I don't dislike him. Just saying.
um so I actually do, and his story is amazing. I mean, he's a survivor like it's nobody's business. He had very, very severe illnesses when he was younger, and survived by the grace of God, I swear. So I like him very much, but at the same time, I agree that his earlier work was more relatable. Now his later work has become more about business and growing as a business owner and being more. He's definitely set a more specific audience, and it's the audience that can pay $4,000 for the, possibly, or maybe even more, for him to come and stand there and speak for 15 hours for 3 4 days straight. Because that's what he does. It's an insane exercise in just stamina. He'll talk like nonstop for like 14 15 hours straight.
And how much of that talk, and we're talking about neurobiological functioning now, for those days, how much of that talk do you think that people are actually grasping?
Oh, I think that it depends on, again, I think it depends on how much it relates to the individual. Because as humans, we are going to want to listen to things that are relatable to us a heck of a lot more than if it's not relatable to us. Like, I think we're going to
That's
block it out if we don't find it to resonate with us personally.
That's true, but we're talking about attention span and we're talking about learning styles. So
Right.
people are not auditory learners and they just go like to do when they start listening to something. And attention span is very short. So anyway, my point is what I was saying before, and I agree with you. I think more power to him. That's great that he makes all this money speaking for hours on end, and he's got a talent and he's a survivor. But beyond that, what I was thinking is how applicable is that message to the people that are investing this money? And likewise with the self-help books, right? Like I can go ahead, you have read books, I have read books. What is the application of those books and the factual aspect of life? Like how much of that am I really working on? How much of that is really doing something good for me? So I don't know. It's kind of like when you talk to, and I'm sorry for saying this, but like coaches that get certifications and they don't have any background on anything. But
Yeah.
I got a certification because I took a 10-month course and now I'm just going to go ahead and talk to people about what I think they should be doing.
And I
Maybe some,
the interesting part about that, I personally have a hard time with coaches. Not to go against, it's a very popular thing these days, but I have a hard time with business coaches and with life coaches who have neither credentials to do life coaching, or have never owned a business. Like, I personally, when I started my business consulting with Lazarus, the only reason why I felt compelled to do it, and why I felt like I was worthy of doing something like that, was because I'd owned my own business, started it from nothing. Literally $300 is all I had in my pocket, and had it for, we're going on 7 years. And I have experienced tons of different things about business that I felt people could benefit from. And I was aiming to work with people that were very, very early starters. I wasn't even thinking of like, I'm going to work with millionaires and like people that, all these different things. I was trying to work with early entrepreneurs, but I would never trust a business consultant or a coach that has never owned a business. I mean,
well, and therefore, since we're at the topic, one of those coaches that maybe has never been through any of the things that they're writing about, they feel like they have the wisdom or have gathered the knowledge to write a self-help book, and then it becomes a message for someone else. But I mean, have you lived through this? Do you know anyone that lived through this? Is there a best practice behind this? Has anybody talked to you about maybe theoretical approaches to the issue? So that's my problem with self-help, that it's not regulated. It's kind of like anybody can write it. and it is whatever it goes. Like,
So
if it,
before we close, I want to talk about one self-help book that I did find that was helpful and that I felt could be relatable to most people. And that was The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, which I actually listened to it and I absolutely loved it. Bill was like, yeah, the second you told me the title, I knew you were going to love this. So it is by, let's see, Mark Manson. And it's the reason why I really liked it is because it's a really honest book. It doesn't paint a picture of the perfect life. It doesn't paint a picture of the perfect person. It doesn't give you unrealistic expectations. It doesn't set you up for failure because I do feel like self-help books that are not right for you will set you up for failure. Like they will give you such astronomical tasks that you're going to inevitably fail. And that's the opposite of what you're looking for. If you're looking for a self-help book, is because there's something missing there. Is because you're in need of something and you don't know how to get it. Whether it's motivation, whether it's um self-love, whether it's encouragement, whether it's confidence. I mean, it doesn't matter, but you're looking for something because people don't gravitate to self-help books just for fun. Uh they often are looking for something that they want to build on. So I liked that book because it was very real. And I wanted to give you guys like one book at least that did kind of bring me back to the faith of self-care and self-help.
well, since you're doing that, then I guess I probably should do the same because it's not all about bashing self-help books. Like you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, I'm attempting to do my first book, which is going to be self-help. And, it works if, I guess, you can grab one single idea and make it applicable.
Mhm.
Like you said, if you relate to something, maybe try not to focus on the whole book and try to implement everything that the book talks about. But if you resonate with something resonates with you,
Mhm.
just hold on to that and try to make it applicable to your life is my suggestion. But for me, this book was really helpful going through a dark night of the soul about 15 years ago. It's called Fear, Essential Wisdom for Getting Through the Storm. And it is by Thich Nhat Hanh. I think I might have mentioned him in another podcast before. Anything that this man wrote, I have read. Very easy reading. It's all about mindfulness, Buddhism based. But it doesn't mean that you guys have to become Buddhists listening, or you don't have to shave your heads or chant or anything like that. But the messages are really easy. And I think they're very heartwarming, especially if you're going through tough times and you need a pick me up with love and kindness. So
Mhm.
that's my contribution to the
To the list.
the yes, to the list.
So, okay, my what I was thinking as far as tips were concerned is as we finish up, here's what I would say. I imagine if you are looking at self-help books, it's probably because, like I mentioned before, you're looking to improve your life, looking to improve your processes in life, your habits. And as I read these books, I was thinking, what is important that on a very basic level, what are things that are important that we should maybe look into and try to improve on a regular basis? And the first thing that I thought was guard your sleep. So making sure that you do whatever it takes to try to get some sort of quality sleep on a regular basis. A lot of our patients who go into manic episodes, who go into depressive episodes, anxiety, all these different things are often insomniacs, or they don't respect the importance of getting sleep. So that's probably one of the main tips that I would give is try to respect your sleep, try to be mindful of your sleep. So if you can build habits around sleep, that would be a good one. Um, the other one is drink water. Very simple, but have a tumbler or keep water around you at all times and try to drink it throughout the day. That's another thing that's kind of just vital, basic, but often ignored. Is just drink your water.
Well, I guess I should give a tip.
And if you want, I have others, but if you want one to give one.
Well, you can definitely continue with your list because I think mine is a little different. But
That's okay.
this is probably one of them. I was just gonna say to the people that are looking for answers, that don't know what to do, and that are turning into self-help books or any other information out there to help them through, the answer is already within you.
Mhm.
If you connect with your inner self, if you actually look above to and try to connect with your higher power, whatever that is, you will always find that answer for what you're going through. And don't forget that the hardships and lessons that you're going through are going to teach you a lot more than what a book can teach you or someone else can say to you. So that's my tip.
I think to if I were to give an like expand on that tip actually is don't be afraid to be honest with yourself. Like because I find that people I do a lot of internal work, but I have to push the honesty to come through because it's easy for me to come up with excuses about, in my own mind, come up with reasons why I don't do what I do and why I might self sabotage and why I might procrastinate. And so, like, label it and be honest about the label. Like, yes, that was self sabotage. Like, I know I should have done this. I had the time to do it, and even though I didn't want to do it, I could have done it, but I didn't, and I was just making excuses for it. So, do the internal work honestly. If you can't be honest with anybody else, at least be honest with yourself. Um,
Mm.
so okay, so that's actually a really good tip. And then
Thank you.
yeah. And then, all right. Then I would say probably the last one, and going back to the self-help books, is remember that every person can only write from their personal perspective and from their personal experience, even if you are scientist or even if you have tremendous literary experience or scientific background, there is nothing in this world that a person can do that is not brought on by their personal view. Like that's all the experience we understand in the world. Even the way that we see color is personal. Like all of it is just from us. So try to take what you can, but don't think that this writer, this author can live your life for you or experience life for you. You have to understand that they can only do so much.
That's probably where the critical thinking skills kick in, and not only for the books, but anything that is pop psychology that is out there.
Mhm.
Guys, like really, really use that beautiful critical thinking that you bring to sessions sometimes, most of the time, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with that, this was just our quick review of self help books. There are some that work, there are some that are a little bit out of depth, and there are some that maybe seem out of depth but really speak to you. But the point is, be critical about your reading, be critical about how you internalize the information and how you see yourself through the information. And remember that no matter what, at the end of the day, it's about those baby steps and it's about the journey, about getting through every experience one by one, rather than trying to find the quick fix. And yeah, we wish everyone luck and we'll be seeing you guys in the next podcast and have a good day.
Hopefully. You too.
Bye everybody.
Bye.